My name is Lori Power. I'm a group benefit consultant, and it's my pleasure to always be talking to great people, people who are experts in their field. And today is no exception. Olga is joining us and talking about talent and the shift in talent, how to attract talent. Can you take us through, Olga, a little bit about your background? Tell us how live assets came into play.
Totally by fluke, by the way. I come from sociology, not technology. Probably, I think in 97, I met a gentleman and I was looking at the time for career change. I wanted to do something different. And he gave me his card and it said Computer Consultants Inc. And I looked at it and I thought, Computer Consultants Inc., what do I have to do with computers? Now, this person doesn't know what I do. So I called him up though, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. And it was very interesting to me, the whole recruitment world, because it's all about people, regardless of the industry that you are in. Realistically, recruiting, staffing, working with people, building their careers, building teams and companies. For me, that was really, really exciting. And I guess, the ability to build a business within a business was even more exciting. So I started off, I knew nothing, really nothing. And I said, I'll give it 110, but I don't know if I'll be good. So I remember my first placement, I was like, oh my God, I was ecstatic. And it wasn't about, like the commission or whatever. It was just about, I can do it. And it just, and the thank you and the satisfaction that you get, building teams and organizations and helping people with their next step in their career, for me, is a big thing. It was, and it is today. So fast forward some years later, I worked for a few, not too many companies. I worked for a couple of companies, and there were things I didn't agree with in the way the recruitment world worked. So I decided in 2011, 10 years ago next month, to take a leap. And I was terrified, of course, I think like most people are, and just kind of jumped in. And someone, a mentor of mine, when I asked, I said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Should I? And he says, do you love what you do? And I said, yeah, I do. And he says, then you know what? You jump in with 2 feet and you figure it out. And lo and behold, it's exactly what happened. So 10 years later, I'm still here. So obviously I'm enjoying it. I love working with people. I really do. I think that is the gist of the whole thing for me. It really, really is. It's very rewarding. It's challenging. It has its challenges, no doubt, but I think the rewards surpass it.
I want to clarify though, because until I start talking to experts like yourself in their field, people who specialize, I can get confused, right? Outside of just as a business owner, I can get confused to what is an HR person and their role in recruitment, in hiring a company such as yours, in placement. Is it companies coming to you, or is it those professionals that specialize in that field that are coming to you and saying, I want to be placed? And how does that integrate with HR people in the organization?
You know what? Thank you. Thank you for asking. Because honestly, HR, so recruitment is part of HR, but it's not HR. It's a whole different element. It really, really is. And so companies have HR departments, and a lot of times they also have a recruiter or a recruitment team. Nevertheless, though, they cannot really do what we do. So an agency, a staffing agency, if they're good, what they should be doing is tapping into passive talent. So companies will post, if you're looking for someone, you're going to post a job on Indeed, on LinkedIn, different places, right? And you're going to collect resumes and do all this. And if you look at live assets, for example, we don't do a lot of postings. We do once in a while so that we're there, so people know that we exist, right? And of course, we do our marketing and whatnot. But realistically, what we do is we tap into people who are really not looking. We market your company. So we really work closely with a company, and we want to understand their culture. And it's more, there's so much to talk about. God, there's really understanding their culture. You might have heard it many times, but now more than ever, it is so important. So important. Um, Understanding not a job description on a piece of paper. That is easy. And especially imagine in the tech world, you get all the technologies, great. So, what is it? If I send you 3 resumes, why are you going to hire one over another if they all look the same on a piece of paper? So, what we're looking for is behavioral skills. We're looking at cultural fit. We're looking about team building. If you think about it, you're going out to an agency and you're paying them, and you're not paying them to do what you do. If you are, then you're wasting your money, really. They should be mapping out your team, right? Understanding where this person is going to fit into the team. And then understanding what your team looks like, right? How do they work together? What is important? And then they go out and find that talent. And many times when we're looking, we might be looking at, other than what I just spoke about, what we might be looking at industry specific. It might be very important, for example, to have someone in information technology that really understands the insurance world or the banking world or the medical world. And then so we sit down and we map out our recruitment process for that particular job and that particular person we're looking for. And then we go out and we knock on the door and say, hey, we've got a great opportunity. And for us to be able to do that, we have to believe in it, first of all. So we're kind of picky about who we represent. They have to align with our beliefs, really. And second of all, we go out and market. We're going to be talking about your company, right? We have to excite these people. And you can't excite someone if you don't believe it.
No.
Right? So, and it's a great feeling. And there's companies that come to my mind right away that I work with, where when I talk about them, I know it's a good fit. I know it's a great company, and I can build someone's career. And that to me is heaven.
You're saying then first that you're sourcing for the companies, and then, to use a crude term, you're poaching the best from their competition to come and work for them because of the company culture and the other incentives, if you would, of what comes along with working with that particular company. Do employees who are seeking occupation elsewhere, do they come as well to Live Assets? And what is the process like? Do you do any testing? Like,
so we have a very, very tedious process. And our goal is to send you 3 resumes and get someone hired. And I am sure all of you have recruited in the past and have sifted through tons and tons of resumes. So you understand, to get 3-star resumes is a task in itself. And it is a lengthy process. So we have 3 major areas of I guess, 3 stages of recruitment that we do, our screening process. So starting from very simple, we have networks. So it's not only tapping into your competitors per se, because they're not always competitors, right? So it is a big part of what we do. I'm going to use the term, and it's funny because we're working on our website now, and they were saying, you use the term good old fashioned headhunting with new technology. And is that allowed today to use, headhunting? I said, I don't know. I know it sounds kind of, but really it is what we do, right? If you think about it. So, we'll reach out to our networks. We have a huge network. I've been in the industry 23 years. So you can imagine we have systems in place and so on and so forth. So we look internally first. We do a number of things in terms of how our outreach. Once we do that, my recruitment team, we kind of segment them. So they specialize in specific areas, right? and they will go out, they will tap certain people, and they will ask the very simple questions that everyone asks, just to engage and understand if they're interested, and if they are, why. To me, it's important to understand it has to be a win-win. If it's not a win-win, it's what, I can't remember who it was that said that, they last 2-3 months and they're gone. And we don't want that. I mean, that is not our goal. Our goal, as I said from the beginning, is to build someone's career, like build them, for that next stage, and to build an awesome team in a corporation. So we want to find out, are they interested? If they are, why? What's important to them? Is it work-life balance? Is it money? Is it they don't like their manager, they hate their team, they don't like the commute, which today is a whole different story. But what are the fundamental reasons why someone would sit and talk to us? That's where it all starts. So we have to understand, and if we understand that really, really well, then we will know that our client can actually address those needs. And then it's worth going into the next stage.
And so I'm sure because somebody has hired you and trusted you, and you have long-standing relationships, that I know. What is the success rate for keeping that employee over that long term, so that there is that return on investment? Ultimately, we're all in business to make money. So if we're hiring somebody, we need to know that there's a revenue stream down the road, that we're all going to be better productive. What does that look like when you utilize somebody like yourself that is specifically focused on getting the right people on our bus?
Each company, each agency has different policies and different so-called guarantees in place. So we like to guarantee our placements for 6 months. So if someone were to leave in 6 months, provided there's not a downsize or a change of the job or something where it's totally different, we will replace this person, not with extra fees. The other thing that we do that a lot of companies don't do, and I think this is really important, and it speaks to our beliefs and our value, really, is that if someone were to leave within 3 to 5 years, we would replace that position for half the finder's fee.
Now that is an assurance on the process working, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that is for us the most important thing, right? Now, realistically, do people stay over 5 years? In IT, I can speak for IT. I'm going to say if you get 3 to 4 good years out of someone, you're fine. You should be happy.
You can get a lot of savants in the tech world too, right? So, and when you have somebody of that nature, eventually they're going to tumble out, like those of us that are accidental entrepreneurs, and become their own business. So, I think that strikes a chord.
Either their own business, or you realize that technology moves so fast that for people to stay in the industry, they need to keep upgrading, learning, changing. And so they'll change industry, they'll change positions. They're always learning through their experiences. So for them, more than ever, it's ever-changing world in IT. So they have to almost do so, unless the company is working at that pace, right, of change, where they will find that and they will stay.
And we all were in agreement that, best talent sourced from referrals, right? People are talking about that it's good to work with us. So therefore you should give Lori a call, or you should give Aaron a call, or you should give Adam a call, and Melanie, and come in and work for their company because they are this, and this. When we compare the referral process of hiring versus and I'm picking on us, what a strategic process of having somebody who understands your business and going out, the long-term analytics on that retention for the employee.
First of all, I want to say that many times we get referrals, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Where I would be, and I am cautious, is that although it's a referral, my process is the same, right? So referring someone just takes away the resume search that you get, I don't know, 300 resumes and you're looking for that one. So it'll take that away. But always, and please, don't skip the process because someone else knows this person. You still should put them through the same process as you do everybody else, right? So that when you are comparing apples to apples.
What do you see changing in talent searching migration over the last year and a half? We are where we had never expected to be, good or bad. There's lots of positivity here. What do you see as the main shift that employers should be aware of?
There's a lot, a lot of shift. Where do you start? But one of the things that is key for all of us to keep in mind is looking at people's transferable skills. What's happened in the market as a whole, and it's not, and I would say the least in IT, actually, but when I look at employment as a whole and I look at the various industries, what's happened is there's been a huge talent pool shift. A lot of people in industries, some industries have gone wow crazy, and some industries are really, really suffering. And a lot of those people are looking at career change. One of the things when I'm training recruiters is I always say, you've got to have antennas. You got to have these little antennas all over the place and really look and think outside the box when you're hiring someone, right? A lot of times, when someone's hiring for salespeople, right? Or account managers, some of those best people come from the restaurant world, really. These are people that if you think about it, they're selling all the time. They're negotiating all the time. They've got to be 24/7 there, right? They've got to think fast on their feet. Like they have so much to give in the right setting that people think, oh, no, they don't have experience, so I'm not hiring. And I think that is something that we really have to open up to if we want to be successful.
I think you hit on something I never ever considered before. Those are folks that are used to working in high pressure situations, and they're used to accommodating people who are perhaps not happy or finicky or fussy. Wow, I never thought of that.
Absolutely. And that's just an example I wanted to give because I think it's a very, very, it does exactly what it did to you. It kind of goes like, wow, yeah, it makes sense. Right. And there's a lot of that happening now. It's almost like everything kind of just went up in the air and now the pieces are falling and they're falling in a different manner. And we're starting to see that shift so much. Not only in the recruiting world, but in the way people are working, in what people are looking for today more than ever. When they're seeking a job or they're looking for a career change or they're starting to think about, what do I really want in my life? Do I want to be in this crazy rat race? Is it just about work? Is there more to life? Do I want that work-life balance? People are working, home is becoming work and work is becoming home. How do I manage it all and still feel full content, and get rid of some of the stress if possible. And then employers have to really, really look at a new way of managing people. I think that is another big area that now we have to retrain ourselves, retrain the way we think.
And accommodation has changed its meaning now. Accommodation has very much broadened in the scope of what it used to be. What's a question that when you start working with a company that is looking at recruitment, what's a question that is often overlooked or that you wish they would ask?
I don't know if it's so much a question, but what happens is I find that when companies come to us, they come to us and they talk to us about the job. They don't talk to us about the people. They don't talk to us about that interaction, about They're teams. Like we have to kind of engage them and start to kind of open that door. It's interesting, but they'll ask me about my process. They'll ask me, they'll tell me about the job that, but they won't talk about their vision. And that's important.
If they're just looking at hiring a particular person, you can talk all you want that you have a culture. That would, I would think, be imperative in if you want to retain or attract the right people, you want to start talking about that. Who was it that said recently that you can attract somebody to go out for dinner with you once, but can you get them to come back the second time and have drinks? And that's the difference between the recruitment and the retention.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And if there's no retention, then it's a waste. It's a waste of time, money, right? But that is really, and it's about knowing. You have to really understand the candidate, and you have to understand the client. You have to understand the company. If you don't understand those two really, really well, it's not going to work.
Take me through it then from an employee's perspective. So somebody who's looking to get placed and they say, you know what, I want a job in XYZ. And it's just like a full scope. How do you get them to narrow it down? What are some of those key questions where, sometimes somebody's just frustrated with their own position and they're out there, I'll take just about anything, but of course they won't. What are some of the questions that they should be asking?
First of all, I want to make people feel comfortable. The first thing you have to do is you've got to get their guard down. If their guard isn't down, if they don't feel safe, they're not going to share. And they're going to tell you what you want to hear, right? So forget about those conventional questions. You want to get to know them at the end of the day. That's really what you want. So a lot of times I'll say, tell me a little bit about yourself. I don't even look at the resume a lot of times. I've seen it before or I've got an idea. So, I'll say, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And they'll start. And then from there, and it's about digging into things. You got to pick things that to you are important and then going down that road. And then I ask them about their career path. How did you get into this? Do you really love what you do? If you could do anything, what would you do? So very unconventional. I want to get to know the person. I want to understand their passion because I'm not just asking for my client, but I also want to ensure that I can address, again, their needs. So it will be a win-win. So you have to get to know them. You get the guard down. You start to ask them these questions. You probe into it. And then I start to get into, tell me about your current position. What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? Tell me about the team you're in, right? These are the questions I want to know because from there, we have a great team, but the manager, oh my God, he drives me nuts. He gets stuck on these things. So you start to understand what really bothers them, what they like, what they don't like, how they can work. Are these people that can work under pressure? Because there are some jobs that are, that they're very timely, they work under pressure. Can they handle that? And those are the kind of questions that you're going to start to probe into.
So what is the most interesting response that when you think about a candidate or a company looking to fill a position, what's one that you shake your head and you laugh at? What is that one story that comes to mind that you were like, oh, I wasn't expecting that answer?
Oh, I get all kind of stuff. Goodness gracious. You should have told me from before so I could have had a few of those answers. But
I want the one that just pops out at you.
One of the things that comes to mind is we had someone that came in, and he actually came into the office, which was interesting because normally people will email us or call us or whatever. So, and he wanted to get an IT job, but had no IT experience at all. And we're trying, honestly. And so I'm trying to be polite and to understand. So I said, okay, so what would you be able to do in IT? What are areas of your expertise? Oh, I can do anything. Right. And I said, but so if someone calls, so I just thought of something really simple, right? And I said, so if you, let's say, worked as a technical support and someone calls you and you've got to walk them through, right, an issue they're having with how would you do that? So we're going into it, and it's interesting because when you start to do that, they start to realize, and the funniest part is when you see the expression, like they come in wowed, and then they kind of go back and they're like, I guess not, but they're passionate about it and they want to do it. So, I get that sometimes, which is interesting. I don't know. There's so many various scenarios that I can go into though.
Yeah, Olga, you mentioned two things that really hit home with me, right? So I guess two different questions. One is is looking into the culture of a company first, right? And the people of a company. And I guess what I think, what to you, seeing all these companies, actually defines a good culture or defines a place people want to be. That's question one that I really want to know. And then you've mentioned especially through COVID and what's happening, that managers need to change the way they're managing and need to adjust. And again, can you expand on that a little bit? What does that mean now in today's world as compared to 2 years ago or pre-COVID or whatever that is? But that culture piece kind of rolls into that. So that's a big part of what interests me right now. So
the word culture and values, and we hear it all the time, and it drives me crazy, to be honest with you. We go through this exercise internally as a company, and it's what? You hear the same acronyms all the time, right? Integrity, honesty, it's the same thing all the time. And it's like, Jesus Murphy, what are our values? I'm trying to figure it out. I'm thinking, I can't use these words. Everyone uses these words, but so, it's what we live and breathe every day. Really, that's what it comes to. And how do we, as external now sources, how do we identify or really understand a company's culture? It's not but what they say, but it's the people I interact with and the questions that I will ask to see how they interact with their people. So I don't look for company culture in give me your value proposition and give me I don't do any of that. That is, it's great to have, right? And we should have it, but at the end of the day, if we don't live it and breathe it, and the only way we can do that is through our actions. So when I'm talking to people, when I talk to management, when I talk to HR, I can understand through what they're saying by the questions that I will ask as to how they treat their people, how they is that respect there? Are they open? I had someone today, and I was really upset, and we have to be careful, but and we have to be read between the lines too, is another thing for us, right? Someone said, we were on a call, and one of my team members, I had them with me today, one of my senior recruiters for this particular role. I wanted her to be on the call. And so she asked a few questions, and she has an accent, but her English is very good. And the person across the room said, said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that because of your accent. Can you say that again? And in the whole process of understanding the job, it came up again. We really need someone, that has really good communications, really, so you start to understand, it's not said, but you start to understand the culture of a company.
It's what they live and breathe. It's not what's written on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the employees don't know it, then it's not there.
No, that was good. I like that. I'm going through that right now. We're a company that doesn't really have it was just me for a while. So what is our vision? What is our culture? What are our values? What are we doing? But defining that to me isn't about putting it on a piece of paper, but it's so hard to do that. So it's interesting to hear your perspective on how companies actually do that, right? And how you treat your clients every day. So
if it's small, if you're a small company, you are your culture, right? So if you value people, if you are someone who wants to take people with you and grow, the company and that passion, that is your culture, and that is what you're going to sell, right? Because you believe it.
I agree with everything's being said, and then I would fine tune it a little bit by a company could have great culture, but there could be a specific department or team that doesn't work that way or doesn't meet it. So, if you're looking or you want to be hiring or whatever, it's got to be that specific team's culture, even though overall, internally, it could be that one little group. So the one question I think, Lori, you asked Olga was, what's the question people don't ask often enough? The one is retention. How long do people last on this team? The person I'm replacing, how long were they there, right? Those kinds of questions.
But he does hit on a good spot, right? Why did the last person leave? What would be your advice to an employer who wants to start that process of hiring the right fit?
The first thing really is to ask yourself what this person is going to do in a course of a day. Very simple. The second thing is, what type of a person do you want to see every day and work with? And you don't want another me, but you do want someone who has your values, with the things that are important to you. I think that is key. Those are the first things that I would really ask myself, and I do. And then after that, you got to put down almost like a scorecard, right? You kind of make your 4 corners and you figure out, the must-haves, the nice-to-haves, and what you don't want. Very, very simple. And you have to be true to what you can give the employee, right? This is very important, because someone can come in and sell themselves great and you think, oh my God, this is a great, person. I really want to hire them. But you also have to understand, if you're a smaller organization and they come from large organizations, for example, where they're used to, everything is a policy, a process, everything is just so, well versed and in a box. And if you can't offer that, is that going to be an issue, right? We have to be really true to ourselves as to what we can offer, right? So we have to find the people that, number one, we think can do the work that we like to work with every day, and the people that we know will benefit and grow. If they're not going to stick around.
Thank you so much. I thank everybody for coming in. Thanks for joining the first time, Adam. I hope you'll come back. This is my virtual handshake, the way that we connect. Really good advice, and I hope that everybody will continue to connect.